two, testing. A foggy day. Yep. Come all right up. Front row. Yeah. Becca, how you? Okay. We're ready to roll, right?
Are we on YouTube?
Thank you. Thank you all for coming. Once again, this is our first meeting, official board meeting of the year. And we're going to conduct some business, as the board of directors has in the last several months, signed several contracts, and we're going to ratify them. So the first order of business is the quorum of board members. And we can see a show of hands. We have a quorum. Is slides on? Oh.
I'm on.
Good. So we have a quorum, 100%. And just get our. Good. So we have a quorum, 100%. And just get our. Good. We have a quorum, 100%. And
Clyde, can you put on earbuds, please, or headphones? I have to mute you until you do.
I have.
No, I can hear. I can hear the YouTube coming through your stuff.
Oh, you can hear the YouTube.
Yep.
All right, let me turn that off.
Just turn the volume off on the YouTube.
Okay, moving on. We have no minutes for this meeting to approve, so we're going to go right to the president's message. And please, we're going to hold any questions till the end of the meeting. We have some business to conduct, so please give us a chance to do our business here. Thank you. The President.
Good evening. Thank you for your attendance this evening. My name is Robert Marvento, and I am president of the board. I would first like the other board members to introduce themselves. So you can start at that end. Go ahead there. And Clyde.
Yeah, I can't hear you.
Just say hello, Clyde.
Hello,
All
it's
right.
Clyde Zucker.
I must sincerely thank Marla for her exceptional work as president last year. Thanks to her guidance, and leadership, this building has been set on a new positive course. Evidence of this is everywhere. It's been wonderful to see the smiling faces around the pool deck and the building. I am hoping that this will continue, and let's start tonight by everyone conducting themselves as respectful neighbors. As you have recently read in the monthly reports and have witnessed, your board has been working hard at finalizing the details of the many projects we started last year. Some of these will take over a year or more to complete, and they will likely be inconvenienced. However, the outcome will be a beautiful, healthy building. Besides the larger projects, we believe that little things matter. We have incorporated some additions, which we trust you are enjoying, such as the revamped lobby, including the library and billiard room, grocery carts, additional well-made in America lounge chairs. The chairs purchased from China just 2 years ago keep breaking, and there are currently only 45 left. Our pool attendants are the best I've seen, and I know they are making your pool experience so much more enjoyable. It would be nice if you could show your appreciation every now and then to them. I remind you that all information will consistently be on the Park of Dorado website. For those of you who do not have access to a computer, we will continue to provide a printed copy under your doors of all the information distributed. For those of you who have not logged yet onto the website, please do so. If you have any questions or concerns at any time, please send a request to the management office. We will ensure you have all the facts firsthand. This will avoid unnecessary rumors. We are neighbors. Let's be neighbors. We are in the process of rebuilding the Park of Dorado community. Tonight, we have asked our project managers to provide an update on all projects. Please give them your full attention. Thank you very much.
Evening, everybody. Going to give you an update as of most recent financial statements that we have are the end of February, so 2/28. My glasses. I printed it so big I thought I'd be able to see without my glasses, but I can't. Okay, so basically, where we stand financially, this is in terms of the operational budget, so the day-to-day operations of the building. And then the projects, the project manager is going to address separately. But right now, at the end of February, year to date, we had income of $434,718.70. We're budgeted for 428, so we actually collected a little excess revenue, more than what we had anticipated, and I attribute that probably to the assessment. Expenses. Essentially, we have in the month of February, we spent $52,295 on salaries, administration, the benefits for employees, things like that. Year to date, we're at $110,000, and our budgeted amount is that amount, 110. So we're actually almost right on schedule. We're $260 over the budget for the salaries and benefits year to date so far. Insurance is another expense that we have on a regular basis. This past month, our insurance expense was $28,175. Year to date, we've spent $58,544, and we have budgeted $66,000, so we're actually almost $7,900 ahead of where we had budgeted, so that's good. We'll have excess revenue there. Our utilities, FP&L and such, last month, we spent $61,837.50. Year to date, about twice that, $126,044.34. We're scheduled for $127, so we're actually a little under budget in terms of the utilities, and we could attribute that to maybe people not taking it, less people for the season right now. Some people have left. Our contracts, which are things like waste management, all our machinery and equipment that we have contracts on, elevators and things like that, all of our service contracts, we had scheduled to we spent $34,313 in the month of February. Year to date, we've spent $73,908. We're budgeted for $78,000, so we're actually under budget in terms of our contracts expenditures, which is good. Repairs and maintenance, this is where we attribute all the other things, that unbudgeted expenses and things that come along that aren't planned, and where you need to spend money to fix stuff like our gates that break constantly and things like that. In the month of February, we spent $16,505 on repairs, maintenance, and things like that. Such year to date, $34,000.98, and we had budgeted $27,830. So we're actually over budget, and that's something that we anticipate that will continue until the building is going to be, rehabbed completely. Those unexpected things are going to continue to come up. Our management and professional fees that we pay in the month of February was $4,221.69. Year to date, about $74.43, and we had budgeted $17,840. And I attribute much. Right now, we're at $10,000. We haven't spent $10,000 of what we anticipated we would spend, and I attribute that to some of the legal expenses that we had last year that we don't have this year thus far. So our total expenses in the month of February, we took in an income $213,688.80. Our total expenditures were $197,349. So we actually had a surplus in the month of $16,339.74. Year to date, we've spent our total income has been $434,718. So that's January and February, and our total expenses for January and February were $410,449. We're budgeted at $428. So again, there our total expenses are $18,000. Excess right now, which is good. So we're in a good financial position for our operational expenses right now. The total cash on hand, all the monies that have been collected that are in all of the bank, basically all of our bank accounts that we have accessibility to, right now is about $1,017,125.95. And that completes what I wanted to inform you about in terms of our operating budget. All of these numbers that I gathered came from our monthly report that everybody has access to, the monthly financial statements. All I did was summarize them in a way that I think is a lot simpler than looking through a giant financial report. Anybody have any questions?
Yeah.
Take a vote. Show of hands. We have number one, Schindler Elevator, as we're going to be doing our mechanicals for the elevators. They're going to be all new motors, gearless, very quiet. They're going to work. Number two is our innovative multimedia access control that we're going to change from key fobs to a card system with the photo ID on it of the owners. So there'll be no more switching, giving people key fobs and so on. So we're going to roll that probably out in the next week or so. We're going to begin. And we'll send everybody the notifications. We're going to probably do floor by floor until we get everybody signed up. We're going to take photographs. You'll be in our database. Yes. You look wonderful. You can take a great picture, Teresa. I can tell. Yeah. Yeah, right. Okay, number three, we got the ratify the housekeeping contract, Skyshine, and then we have our air conditioning, the HVAC system. We approved for mechanical room, upper and lower mechanical rooms, and the last one, number five, is the elite pool furniture, which will be in shortly. Made right here locally, so we're going to have some beautiful furniture. And then we'll take a vote. By Marla, second by Robert. All in favor? Okay. Clyde?
I'm in favor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very good. Motion passed.
Joe?
Now we're going to introduce Joe Mancini.
Everybody see me okay from here? Thank you. Hello, my name is Joe Mancini. I'm from GM Engineering Consulting, so we have been retained from Parker Dorado to actually manage all your projects that you have on this property, which is quite substantial. Right now, we're up to 23 projects, and they're all running at the same time. So what we've done is, our first presentation was many months back, so what we'll do now is we have the same type of presentation, a PowerPoint presentation, but at the same time, we have a difference between what you've had and where you are today, and we'll go through that one slide at a time. So first, to give you a summary, on the presentation, you're going to have a summary list of all the projects. On the first presentation. There's 30 different. So what I'll do until the presentation's up there, I'll just go through the actual project list not in detail, but in summary. And if there's any, as soon as we get it up on the line, then we'll be able to see it greater. So the first project, which is the most extensive so far, is the upper and lower mechanical room. And the upper and lower mechanical room actually includes all your chiller, all mechanical room downstairs, which is their chiller. We'll do pumps. We are actually retrofitting that whole room. The room itself had quite extensive remediation in that room, which meant that it had asbestos and it had some insulation that had to be removed. Over the last 3 to 4 weeks, you saw rooms that were encapsulated outside and looked like it was something from Star Wars that was completely enclosed and you weren't allowed in that room. That was being done to remove all the asbestos and the bad insulation that's inside that room. Now that room is nice and clean. So the contractors has commenced to remove the chiller unit out of that room. They've removed a set of piping systems that have to be demolished. And inside that room, you're going to undergo a complete retrofit. So it probably, from the beginning to the end, the room will definitely not look the same. We're separating the rooms by code. Currently, right now, you have boilers in that room as well as you have chillers, which is not up to code. So everything through all these projects that the board has elected to do is to bring your building up to code. And that's the main intent that we're doing on the property. Okay. So it looks like we have a problem with our slide presentation. It's the wrong one. In the upper mechanical room, the upper mechanical room houses two air handler systems, which provide your ventilation to all the corridors in the building. In the design, what is the intent and where we are today is the design is enabling for us to install the second system in that same room at a higher elevation to allow the building to still operate with ventilation to the hallways until we're ready to change over to the new system. So in that design, that allow you to have the minimum between 3 to 4 days of no ventilation at that time we switch over to a brand new system. And other than most other properties, you would be down for probably months at a time. But within this design, because the way the building is, allowed us to build a platform in the upper mechanical room and to allow us to install the new systems on top of the old. When we demolish the old, that's the only time that it's going to be that it's down to allow us to connect. So with the rooms themselves, Airstron is the mechanical contractor that was awarded the project. They are one of the largest companies in this area completely. They have over 240 men on staff. So we have no concerns with, number one, is their manpower, with their financial resources, or their intent to complete the job or to modify the job as it is required to do so. So that will bring the mechanical rooms pretty well up to date where they are today. We expect to have their contract substantially complete, and what I mean by substantially complete is everything up and running by the end of this fiscal year. At the pool, we've got the canopies and the bikini sails. That's been a long, drawn-out process to allow us to have proper structural design. In that canopy that the original canopies that were installed, the canopies never had a proper affixing system to the actual concrete deck that is there. The new design had, between the structural engineers, they've allowed us to design a sandwich system. So in other words, the canopies have a plate on the top, and they're actually drilled right through and plate through the actual parking deck structure, so the deck itself. The delay that we've had was, number one, was the weather for waterproofing, and number two was the city for inspections and the structural engineer inspections. We're past that now. All the inspections are complete. We're waiting for the weather for the actual water assembly area to dry. Once we waterproof it, we're all ready to go. So that project's pretty well near completion. Another project that we've got on the go that you can see what's happening is our front fountain. The fountain itself is substantially complete. We've had a problem with a pump system that the original plumbing or the original contractor has installed. We've been working with that contractor to get it to a completion. The new pump is installed. Today they installed the water effect baffles that are at the front to give us a water line. And we're hoping within the next 2 to 3 days, or by Monday, I would say that we should have water inside that fountain and water flowing. If that contractor doesn't do it, we've already have another contractor backed up to finish up that job. So it's been a challenge. The other projects that we've had, which is, you've seen people running through the hallway, testing spaces or testing drywall throughout the hallways. The hallways had some intent of, in the past, of some mold. So what's happened since we started on the project, we've actually got your boiler system and your dehumidification up and running. Once the dehumidification was up and running, we're allowed to dry out the hallways. The testing company has been back and forth on the property many times to do testing throughout the whole property. So they've tested the building for mold, they've tested it for all live spores, dead spores, and actually indoor air quality. The building in its current condition is a very good state. We have to maintain it as it is now. If we maintain it as is, the amount of drywall repair or replacement that has to happen in the hallway retrofit has been drastically reduced. So with us keeping it in the condition that it is between the maintenance staff and the equipment running, the building is under control. As long as we keep it the same and everybody keeps their lanai doors pretty well closed if you can for the cooling systems to operate properly. We should be fine to have the systems up and running, and also the whole hallway renovations under control. The project for the hallway renovation is a two-stage process. The first process that we're under bid right now, it's out to bid to the contractors, is the hallway revitalization. So that means that the contractors have to come in and replace sections of drywalls that we have determined that the drywall is bad, or the drywall is no longer, after drywall gets saturated with water, there's no way that we can actually reuse that drywall, so we're replacing certain sections. The engineers have determined, and the testing companies have determined where and how many sections we have to replace. And that's what's out for bid right now. We're expecting the bid closing the 15th or 16th of April. So it's around the corner. So that project will be able to be handed to the board for their vote. The other project that we have that you just voted on and approved today is the elevators. The second stage, sorry, thank you. The second stage of that is actually beautification-wise. It's for you to come up with a design to see what the board and you as owners want to see at the end result. What this first phase is doing is to bring it back to what you see today as painted, primed walls, ready to go. And the reason why it has to go in multiple stages is the building is undergoing through emergency life safety systems, which is your sprinkler systems. We also are bringing the building up to code, which is your exit paths, your door structures, your door fire rated doors, your door closures, and all the actual ventilation with fire dampers and smoke dampers on every floor. So that has to happen first before you want to make it look pretty. No use going to paint your hallways and doing beautification into your hallways if we have to come backwards and cut it apart to put things behind the system, behind the walls. So we have to do behind the work first before you can make it look pretty. The hallway revitalization of just the drywall repair, that part you're going to be looking, if anything right now, you're going to be looking a good 10 to 12 months before you get that finished. You can't do the whole building all at once. And the reason why it can't be done all at once, and the biggest problem in this property is because you have so many projects intertwined together. If we proceed to do the hallways without doing the risers, as we're all experienced in the risers, what we mean by that is where we have our piping that feeds your cooled, your chilled water and your condenser water to all your air handlers. Over the years, they have been saturated with water. Because they're saturated with water, it will actually have a problem with potential mold. Not only that, the insulation factor breaks down and there's no longer a refrigeration effect or a cooling effect. So we have to change on every riser on the property, and there's over 22 risers throughout this whole property. So that means 22 separate shafts going down the infrastructure of this property that have to be replaced. We cannot just go ahead and do the hallways, again, to beautify the hallways without fixing your infrastructure. So all the projects are intertwined, and the issue on this property is if we do not do it in the proper stages, we're going to finish one project and then cut it back up again to do the second project. So there's stages of each of these projects we have to go through, and that's why it's going to take a duration of time to do it once and once only. And the whole intent that the board has elected is we're only going to do it once. You're not going to spend your money over again. And that's the whole focus, that everything that we've been working for is to pay for it once and do it right. The riser project. The first phase of the riser project that you've all been really stuck with and you lived through is riser 4 and riser 7. In that, the first wave of job that was done was they were on a path of redoing the whole riser shaft from the ground floor right up to the 17th floor. In doing that, you've actually upset owners because you had your room opened up or your closet opened up for a good part of months on end, with really, to some consumers, seeing nothing happen. It's not that nothing was happening, it was because inspections were at each floor and they never touched your floor, but they might have been at a different floor. And it was over a longer duration of time. In the new design through the architects and the engineers that we've negotiated with, was that we're only going to touch 3 owners at a time on that same riser. Those 3 owners that are being elected to do the repair and the remediation, it's going to be from beginning to end. They cannot start another room or another suite until they finish those 3 with permits closed off, painted pretty well to deficiencies, and then we'll start the next 3. So it'll increase the duration of time, but it'll stop and minimize the disruption to your own unit. Because you can't be open for that long length of time with really not seeing any productivity. 3 months tops with permits, everything. Now, we can't control, as project managers or the engineers, can't control all the inspections that have to happen. We have to now go with the utility or with the municipalities to explain to them the new process and methodology for that reason. They have to buy into this program of why we want to slow down the process of not doing the whole building at once, because the municipalities want you, the inspectors want you to do the whole building at once. We do that again, we're going to have a lot of people upset. So we have to work with Corrine and the people at the city to explain to them this is the reason why we're not going to do that again. So I think with the board, what they decided, and it's the right way, if we do less than 3, the pricing overall will be exponential. But when we negotiated with the contractors, and we're still in negotiation with the low bid contractor, is trying to explain to them they have to fix the price today, but it could be a duration up to 3 years before we're finished. But we're fixing the price today. So that's the best we can do, and through the negotiation-wise, we're going to make sure that we twist their arm, and that's what they have to deal with. We can shrink it just by putting paint, but no. Again, well, it could be up to 3 months. All the supplies, the people that are going to be affected, if there's going to be any washrooms or any type of fixtures that have to be disrupted, in the contract bid documents, the contractor has to have either the tile, the paint, the wall finish in stock on site before he starts cutting open your unit. So the whole intent is we approve it, we make sure that the board is in agreement of the methodology of the contractor before they go into your unit with any type of hammer, drill, screwdriver, anything. So all the inventory is here and there's no excuse. Only thing left is labor. We cannot control if there's a problem with the contractor for labor or the delay from the municipalities or the inspectors. We're trying to minimize all the problems that we've incurred in the past so it does not happen again. We can't guarantee. Sorry? Well, the sequence of which suites are going to happen, we were actually met with the board today to go through the methodology of doing 22 riser shafts of how are we going to do the job. So we've started to elect building a schedule, and within that schedule, it will be enough time that the board will be able to, and the management will be able to notify the owners who will be affected during that schedule. Will we? Sorry? Pretty well. Pretty well. It's a point where if we went back to the way the first phase was done, where they went from the 2nd floor right up to the 17th floor, and we do that for 22 times, I think we would have an empty floor here right now, because it would not be good for the property. It can't happen. Yes?
Since there's a lot of Canadians and snowbirds, does it make sense to do the snowbirds apartments when they're not here? If we're not here when you do the work?
If the units were not interconnected, the risers, what I mean by the risers, there's direct piping that actually connects from the 17th floor all the way to the 1st floor. When they replace insulation and open up that cavity for fire stopping and for approving it by the municipalities or the inspectors, the insulation has to start from the top floor and start working our way down. So the contractors can't start on the 17th at whichever floor and then move over on the floor below and then come back in again, because when they do the insulation, they have to make sure they go through the slab, which is your floor or your ceiling, to the unit above you. So you can't really close the one above you if you don't do the one directly below you. Correct. Correct. Now, if they have more crews that they elect, and we all negotiate with the contractor, if they bring in double crews that they're able to do 6 units opposite of some other spot, then that's a negotiation that we have to do. But the contract documents are for 3 suites at a time. At the time that we go for permits, the permits itself could be many, many months before we get a permit. So within that time frame, the contractor will have to have a clean schedule that we would put into the final AIA document, that once the board approves the schedule, notification would happen right away to the owners, and then you could be 2 to 3 months before the contractor would even be allowed to open up a wall.
Remodeling and all our pipes, risers have been insulated. So do you still want to check it or?
You re-insulated the pipes to the base building or the pipes of your own inside your suite? Unless you had an inspector that inspected it for the same methodology of how it's in the new bid or the new permit documents, your wall would have to be opened up again. Unless you have pictures and you have an engineer that signed off on that insulation, I don't know how that would be able to be incorporated into a document. It's something the contractor can't pick and choose how to do it. An engineer that has designed the property, that is going to sign off on his name and his license that it's done correctly. Myself as a consultant that way as well, I wouldn't take somebody else's word for it on a liability wise unless we're able to physically see it. So, correct. It has to be. So you can't miss a floor. If we miss a floor, we're actually going to lose the integrity of the insulation in its complete, or its complete insulation. Thank you. So the other projects that we have done as well, and the other items that we've done is the lower mechanical room has, as you're aware of, there's a lot of noise inside that room. I was talking to Al about this morning. There's a lot of noise inside that room. What happened in that room is we've had a decibel test reading from an engineering firm and a testing company to test the sound levels that are coming out of that mechanical room and the upper mechanical room. Because what we've pushed the contractors to do, that's saying, we sent a benchmark. So if the building has anywhere between 30 to 40 decibels, as an example, we want to make sure that after they finish the complete construction of that mechanical room, upper and lower, is that we test the system and the noise level again outside that room, in the suites above, and in the vicinity, to make sure that that noise level is actually less than what it was originally. So we enhance the building to make the building quieter, to make sure that the contractors cannot cut any corners. So everything that we've intended to put into play to benchmark so the contractors can't put or point the fingers, as we know all contractors do, saying it's not my fault, we now put it all back onto the contractors to say, if it does not comply to the original specs, it is your fault. You're staying here until it gets fixed. And that's the intent of that as well. Yes? Correct. There is a code that's the upper limits. We're well below that as it is now, other than when the generator is running. No, we've actually went beyond that. We've made them to comply to what we have found was currently on the building. So if we left it to the code and the room is actually noisier than it is before, it's not fair to you. So they might be able to save some money on their own if they want to cut a corner. But by us doing that benchmark, eliminated that opportunity for them to either save on some insulation or cut some corners on the sound deadening panels that are installed in the mechanical rooms. So we're upholding trying to hit the building as a benchmark, and they've got to surpass that benchmark. That's all we're asking them to do. It didn't cost us any more money. It just puts them responsible for their work. That's the intent. Is there any other questions that you have regarding with the projects itself? Oh, sorry. Thank you. The elevators, through the elevator projects, what happened is as you know, elevator number 3 had a mechanical failure that had a drive that went a month ago or so, back in, I think it was February, that went through negotiation with the elevators and VDC, the engineering firm or the consultants that did the elevator bid. We were able to negotiate with the contractors for number 1 is the best purchase price for the elevator modernization. At the same time, we negotiated with Robert and the board's help. We actually got the elevator company to throw in the repair, which was in excess of $15,000 to $16,000, $18,000. $18,000 to throw that in on the time of bid to repair that elevator at no cost to us. So the elevator, they've ordered a brand new drive for it, or a remanufactured drive for it, which at no cost to you. So the elevator 3 will be up and running before they start the modernization of all the other elevators. What we've done just before we actually negotiated for their bid, we put a package together and taken pictures of every part of the elevator to prove what parts will be replaced, what parts will be refurbished, or which parts will be renewed. I don't know if we shared that with all the owners or it's going to be available for the owners. It will be. So the elevators, and keep in mind that the elevator design package is not a all brand new elevator from the beginning to the end, because that would be quite extensive. It's a remodernization of the elevators. The contractors that were proven or that awarded, they have been known in a Schindler Elevator. They're widely known in the area. They are the second largest elevator company in North America. So we shouldn't have any problems with them being on the property doing their remodernization, as well as their contract to do the maintenance. Not only did they sign a contract to do the modernization, but we signed a maintenance contract where over the next 3 years through the modernization as well as the maintenance contract, we had a savings between the number 2 contractor, first and second. We have a savings overall of $34,300 and some odd dollars just in the maintenance contract savings. So it was a good contract that Robert and the board was actually twisting their arms. So they did very good with the elevators. Each elevator will be down for the modernization, will be up to a 4-month span for each of the elevators to be out of circuit. During that time that they do modernization to one elevator, they will ensure that they have a standby maintenance person with the parts readily available to make sure that no other elevator will be down for maintenance, or sorry, down for repair. It will be down for maintenance because maintenance has to happen. But whatever parts it's needed, they will decommission one elevator, save all the parts required to use that for the next elevator. So until the modernization is completely finished through all the elevators, you'll have a maintenance person readily available, as well as that one elevator that will be down, but that we can't control. Thank you. We're in contract right now. The board approved the contract. We're in with the attorneys right now with the AIA contract. We have the 1st to 2nd week of April for the new drives for elevator number 3. It takes up to 12 weeks to order all the devices for the elevator, each elevator. They will not start an elevator modernization until they have all the components here on site, which is fair. We do not want them to decommission a machine if they don't have all the parts.
Touchpad. It's going to change the operating system. LED. It's going to be money that we can use actually to make some changes.
Correct. It's all brand new mechanical. Everything up in the upper elevator room is new. They even coat the floors for sound. They also change the lighting as well. So everything of the heart of the elevator will be new. Cosmetically, as Robert said, there's a cash allowance that the contractor had to carry, that if it is elected to revitalize the cab of the elevator, it's at your discretion. Yes. The next project that we have on the go is that you're all aware of is the storm drain. The storm drain has been a violation into the city. There's been some concerns and complaints that the outfall pipe out to the ocean has been damaged and it's unsafe. So what's happening with the storm system is the new design has been completed. We are out to bid today, out to the street to bid for the new system. The new system itself, what it has is a series of up to 3 wells, that the wells would be installed currently where you are now at your car wash area in that southeast corner of the property. So the wells would be installed there. As the wells are being installed, we're actually replacing all the stormwater pumps that are in the property that need desperate repair. The piping, the stormwater pumps, and the wells, they will be out to bid today, or it was out around 2 o'clock this afternoon. We put it out to bid. We're looking for that to be closed bid probably by the 18th to the 20th of April. The car wash area will be reworked. It's not that you're going to lose it. It's not just going to be a double car wash area. It might be a single car spot for washing a car. You might not wash a large or, more than one car at a time, but we will do our best to maintain an area that's serviceable for washing a car. We have to make it work. That's the only location that the engineers and they had to perform a test. It's called a percolation test. In the storm system, what it has to do with, for the people that aren't really clear of what it does, is because this property actually covers all ground. There is no grass, there is no gravel, there is no way for any storm water to percolate into the ground naturally. This property is completely encapsulated in concrete. So all the water that this property has captured, the bylaws and the city laws are stating that we have to disperse our own water on our own property, and we have to do it in a way that we can no longer put it out to the ocean. So by doing that, we have to drill down. We're fortunate that our water table is pretty close to the surface, but we still have to drill down far enough that we're able to hit the water course for the storm water, that we're able to capture all the water. Now imagine, we're capturing the whole roof. All the rain that comes on that roof, all the rain that comes on this whole property, all the rain that comes on this deck, has to be able to drain down into these wells. So these wells are only 15 to 17 inch in diameter, but they're deep enough that will capture all this water and percolate it into the natural water course. Yes. You could use it for irrigation. The problem with irrigation is we have no land here to put storage tanks. We looked at that as well. To pump it back out of the wells, you have to put filtration system. To put a filtration into, to reuse that water back onto your property again, you would definitely not only lose your car wash, you would lose probably 2 to 3 other car spots that we've calculated in that as well. Because they won't allow us to take water from the aquifer unless we treat it, and we have to actually control it, how much we put back in. So even if we use it to put it back to irrigation, the amount that it would cost you to do that would almost be impossible. They would rather you put storage tanks. And we cannot on this property, and we looked at it, we cannot put storage tanks on this property. Yes. That's our next discussion I'm having. I'm saving the best for last. I had a full head of hair when we started that Turtle Eye project. I think I've lost it all because of that project. Is there any questions regarding the storm water? So we're going to be actually capping and disconnecting the storm main that actually goes out, the outward pipe that goes out to the ocean. So it's not a safety concern. It is currently, right now, it's not a safety concern, but it is in a violation to the city under, I think it was called a safety, somebody called it as a safety concern. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I just want to add something for the stormwater drains. The board tried very hard to see how we could reuse the pipe to the ocean. We negotiated with all the authorities, environmental authorities, governmental authorities, the county. At one point, they actually gave us hope that we could use it. Unfortunately, towards the end, they said no. So we are really forced to do the work. We have no choice. We got to get it done. That water right now is seeping underneath the slab and probably attacking the foundation of the building. So we have to do that work right away.
Joe, you just want to mention, once we have the permits, all the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted, how much time will it take to completion once the project starts, more or less?
The legal side of it is pretty quick. The downside is the drilling companies that we have in South Florida or even in the state of Florida, there's only 2 drilling companies. And the 2 drilling companies are the ones that are doing all the properties around here. So if the 2 drilling companies are owned by one person, I don't know, but there's only 2 certified drillers that are in the state of Florida. So the wait list on that, we could be waiting 4 to 6 months or so before they come in to do the drilling. If we're able to find somebody sooner, we can, but the point is once we award the contract, we're almost at their discretion and at their mercy of when they're able to bring their rigs in here. And by the drilling rig, they're not going to bring a tandem truck in here, a large, shall we say, a rig. They're going to bring a smaller system in. That's how it's been designed. So it's only 17-inch diameter wells because there's no way to bring that large piece of equipment in because of the elevated parking structure on this property. So it's very crucial of how it was designed that we're able to bring this equipment in this property. So we have it. It's out for bid right now, and let's see what we can do to keep it to as minimum as possible. come dig it himself? Yeah. Correct, but they stop at the water line, We, we we even went to the extent of, we actually issued registered engineers letters of reasons why we want to keep the pipe in the ocean as is, and we were rejected every time. Alex actually made a phone call, got us a connection by his persistent, got us a connection of who we talked to. They first started saying, let's talk about it. They wanted us to go to the extent of doing extensive testing and guaranteeing that two things happen. Number one is the parking garage. You cannot have any vehicles parked there unless you have grease interceptors and oil interceptors put into this building. So there cannot be any automotive grease, automotive oil, gas, or anything touching that slab before it goes out to the ocean. So that puts you into an environmental issue. So if you want to put water out to the ocean, the amount of money you're going to spend to clean the water to put it to the ocean, it'll be cheaper for you to put wells. And that's what we looked at. The board had us analyze so many different ways. For us to make the ocean happy, you would almost be broke. So it's cheaper for us to put a well and make everybody happy and the city happy, and your violations stop. Well, we could all fill up 5-gallon drums and take them somewhere. You can't put it onto the street. You have to keep it onto your property. The best project, or the project that has the most dearest to my heart, is our turtle lights. Is our beautiful lights that we have out in the area. The system itself, the building itself went through the renovations for the pool deck, the parking structure. You put in the lights. Theoretically, at that time, the lights were approved. The city accepted the lights. The city, all the utilities or all the authority having jurisdiction approved what you currently have here, or with what was in that design. Through whatever happened in the past, the contract was not executed as per the original design. There was allowed an alternate or some changes. Something happened that you actually have more lights and more lumens. So in other words, the amount of array of the lights that you have and the capacity of the lights are the incorrect ones that you require for the turtles and what is approved by the law. So we tried to retrofit them. We actually took some shields. You had shields put on them. We retrofit them with the shields to change the array of the light. We actually went to try and put drivers on it. We went through every extensive opportunity that we can look at, and the board was very relentless on us to try and keep going at it to find a way to save every light that you currently have. At the end, we hit roadblocks on every one. So at the moment, or at that time, we went out for a redesign to make sure that we're going to make all the authorities that have the jurisdiction over the turtle lights, making sure that we're able to get it to a completion, that they will accept it, and we'll be able to retrofit your lighting systems, rework your lighting systems, and change them to an amber color light, which is the more readily used all around the coast. So it'll be an amber. The pool structure, because the pool itself is it's dusk to dawn, you do not use the pools at night, so wire the lights on. So in the new design, the lights are on timers and the lights are on photocells that they're going to be shutting down at night to a minimum life safety requirements for egress. So just for you allowed to exit through the travel paths, and that's it. So we're saving energy, and you're not going to have that amount of lights running all night long for no reason. So you will have lights, but it'll just be for the minimum code, just to allow you to have an exit path. The parking structure will have your normal lights that you require by the authorities and the code to allow you to have ample light for safety for the vehicles. So the amber lights are going to be going. The bid has already been closed. We're right now ratifying the deals with the contractors and negotiating with them for that as well. The lights, once we approve the contract and the AIE contract is executed, you're looking between 6 to 7 weeks before the new light heads get in stock, and then we can schedule from there of when we want the lighting project to entertain and get going. So you won't see these beautiful lights here anymore. You did. Yes, sorry. Sorry? New fans? There are exhaust fans in the maintenance contract or maintenance agreement that they've entertained with the mechanical company. There are additional fans that are being replaced and upgraded currently. Of the lighting projects or all the projects on the go? If I'm going to tell you that you're going to see the majority of all the projects completed by the end of 2022, so at least 3 years from today, if you're looking between 3 years to probably 4 years. Yes. Right now, what the board has approved is us to proceed with all the contracts in an equal staged sequence that matches, first of all, it matches the contract, that we're not overlapping another project. So again, like I said earlier, that we're not going to finish one and have to cut open it again in the next. To beautifying the hallway, of painting the hallway. I would say you would not see any different color paint on the hallway, if you want to call it that way. Different color paint on the hallway to probably a good 3 to 4 years. The beautifying it, I hate to say it, everyone, but putting the makeup on is the last thing. You have to fix the infrastructure of this building that's been neglected for many, many years, and now you're paying for the sins of the past. Any other questions on the project? Yes. The hallway temperature? Correct. And right now we have the contractor. We've had a problem when they were doing the mold remediation inside the mechanical room. We had a problem that happened on the boiler itself. The parts have been ordered. I'm expecting the contractor to have that back up and running by Monday. So it's things that's happened. It's existing systems, so we're working around existing systems. No, it's a common shaft. Correct. Correct. There's 2 separate air handlers, but it's a common shaft. So wherever we set up the discharge air temperature or the temperature that it's supplying, that's what we're going to. It's a pressurization system. The return is the elevators, the doors, everywhere else. Any other questions on the projects, the extensive projects you have? Warming it up. It will get a little warm once the boiler turns back on again, but the problem is if we allow the hallways to actually get warmer currently right now, that means that the humidity level is going to come up. So we have to just bear with us a couple more days. We have to maintain this at this point, and the contractors are continuously maintaining it. Same with the maintenance staff is maintaining these hallways for all the work that they've been doing to keep the mold and everything under control. They've been doing a great job, and we've been monitoring it as well. And the PowerPoint presentation had the temperatures that we had, and I monitored it from January, February, and for today, we were actually within the same span of moisture and the amount of humidity. It's been perfect. So as long as they keep up with it, we're doing good. We have an independent company, third party completely. We would not let the contractors be responsible for that. Correct. We have an independent company, a lab testing. The copies are handed to the board already of the testing that we've already had. It was 99 page, the first report. There will be intermediate testing, and there'll be a completion testing at the end. And that information, it'll be public. Oh yes, of course. And we've elected to hire a third party inspecting company. And for that reason, we don't want to trust not that we don't trust the contractor. Well, actually, no, we don't trust the contractor. That's all there is to it. A third party protects all of us. Yes. The mold in the hallways, how does it affect? It should not affect the individual if we're the biggest problem that you're going to have is not right now the property, the management and the maintenance staff is maintaining all the common areas. What we have is the biggest problem, and I've been doing this for a long time. The biggest problem we have is the individual unit owners. I'm not saying it's you individually, but the biggest problem is the people are not keeping their systems running. The people don't care about their internal units. What they're affecting is not only their unit, they're affecting the unit adjacent to them. So you all have to be the buddy system, and as Robert said at the beginning, we'll all work together. But if you allow your unit to be infested with either mold or mold spores because you don't care, you're affecting the people adjacent to you. The common areas, the maintenance staff is doing a phenomenal job, and they're doing everything they can possible. That's all they can do. They can't keep up to your individual units. If you don't take care of it. In other words, if the moisture in the drywall, moisture on drywall will not automatically become mold unless it's ideal conditions. Ideal conditions is either dark, high humidity, or high in temperature. So if you maintain it warm or turn your systems off, or you allow the drywall not to ventilate to dry, you are your perfect condition. Yes. Correct. That's true, and I think that was brought up at our last meeting in January or December, and there was through the maintenance. I think Al was talking about that. Through your maintenance department, you're doing something. Al, the condensate pans. You were talking about that in the last board meeting that we had. The condensate pans. Thank you. Is there any other questions? Thank you.
Let's adjourn the meeting, and if we want to stay and take some questions.
I just want to say thank you so very much for being so nice. We've had a good, calm meeting here, and I really, really, truly appreciate it. So thank you so much.